Gentlemen, so now we're going to finish up Unit 1, Notes 3. So hopefully now you have a better understanding of slope-intercept form because you got a chance to practice it. And now we're going to take and we're going to use point-slope form. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. So here's some things about point-slope form. So for point-slope form, we have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So the biggest thing that students get confused is x1, y1 is a point. So basically when you use point-slope form, typically you use it when you're given a point and a slope. So we use it to write linear equations when you're given a point and a slope, or you're given 2 points. Because remember, if we have 2 points, we know how to calculate the slope. That's what we did on the first part of this notes video, the first section. I also tell students that sometimes it's easier to look at this like a puzzle. So here's the setup puzzle that I use. So this right here represents the slope. This blank right here is going to be the opposite of your x-coordinate. This blank right here is going to represent the opposite of your y-coordinate. So you could also look at it that way to plug it in. Now, for example, if you have a negative point, okay, so the opposite would be positive. I don't want you to just write y3. And when you plug it in, you need to make sure you put that addition sign there. So you do need to put an addition or a subtraction sign. So we're going to take a look at a couple of examples to make sure we know what we're doing here. So let's take a look at number 7. So for number 7, I am going to put this into point-slope form. So I like to use this puzzle method because to me that seems more logical. So first in here is my slope. Well, m is my slope, so my slope is -6. Then here I need to put the opposite of my x-coordinate. Well, since it's a +9, the opposite is going to be a -9. Here I'm going to put the opposite of my y-coordinate. Since it's a +2, I'm going to make it a -2. Remember that points are always x, y. So for all technical purposes, this is done. If you want to, you could write it out a little bit neater. As such, that works as well. Okay, let's take a look at number 8. Number 8 is going to be kind of the same thing. So I'm going to set up my puzzle. So then I'm going to do my slope here. Then here, opposite of my x-coordinate. Well, here I have a -2. So when I plug it in, the opposite of the x-coordinate is going to be +2. Here, the opposite of the y-coordinate is going to be +3. So then I get y plus 3 is equal to 2 times x plus 2. And that's point-slope form right there. Okay, all you have to do is plug it into the pieces. Now let's take a look at what we would do if we were given 2 points. So if we're given 2 points, let's go ahead and we need to use that slope formula. Remember, slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when you're calculating out slope, sometimes it helps to go ahead and label your points. x1, y1, x2, y2, because that helps me kind of remember what I'm doing. So I have y2 minus y1. Remember, 2 negatives become a positive, divided by x2 minus x1. Well, 4 plus 12 is going to give me 16. And then 16 divided by, then we're going to do 8 minus 4, which is 4. Well, 16 divided by 4 is 4. So now I know my slope. And conveniently, I have 2 points. So I can put it into point-slope form right now. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my puzzle. So I have y. Well, I know my slope is 4. Now, I can use either one of these points, and they mean the same thing. So I'm just going to use the first one. So I'm going to put the opposite of my x-coordinate, which is a +4, so this is going to be a -4. The opposite of my y-coordinate is a -12, so this is going to be a +12. So that's one of the answers. You could also use the other point. It doesn't matter. I know it looks different, but it represents the same equation. Well, for the other point, we have 8, 4. Our slope is still 4. Then we're going to plug in the opposite of our x-coordinate, which is a -8, and the opposite of our y-coordinate, which is a -4. Both of these are acceptable answers. On your homework, you only have to do one or the other. Let's take a look at number 10. We're going to go ahead and calculate out that slope now. So we're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if calculating slope is difficult for you, I do have an extra video of calculating slope in the resource folder on Schoology. So 2 plus 7 is going to give us 9. And then 2 plus 4 is going to give us 6. Well, the fraction 9 divided by 6 is reducible. They're both divisible by 3. So then I'm left with 3 halves. So that's my slope, 3 halves. Now I can plug it into point slope form using either equation. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's try it with the first point. So I'm going to set up my puzzle. And 3 halves goes into the slope part. Then in here, I'm going to put the opposite of my x-coordinate. Well, if we're using -4 and -7, the opposite of -4, I'm going to put in +4. Again, notice I'm putting that addition sign in there. Then opposite of the y-coordinate is going to be +7. That's using the first point. You also could have used the second point. Again, we're going to keep the same slope. Then we're going to do the opposite of the x-coordinate. Well, the x-coordinate is 2, so the opposite is going to be -2. Opposite of the y-coordinate is +2, so the opposite is going to be -2. Both of those are acceptable answers for point slope form. Last but not least, let's take a look at this. So now we want to figure out how to use the two equations interchangeably. Well, let's take a look at this one. So we want to write the following in slope-intercept form. When you're given a point and a slope, the only thing you can do is put it into point-slope form. So that's what we're going to do first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this information and put it into point-slope form. So my slope is -3. Opposite of my x-coordinate is going to be +2. Opposite of my y-coordinate is going to be -3. So now what I want to do is I want to take and distribute each of these. So I'm going to take -3 and distribute it in. So I have y minus 3 is equal to y minus 3, -3 times x, which is -3x, -3 times 2, which is a -6. So notice I took that -3 and distributed it into each part of that parentheses. So what I'm doing right now is I'm solving for y. If you notice, slope-intercept form is always solved for y. So now I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and then I get y is equal to -3x, and then -6 plus 3 is going to be -3. So this is my final answer in slope-intercept form. You can't just take this point and call it the y-intercept because it's not. X would have to be 0. Let's take a look at number 12. So for number 12, we're going to put that into point-slope form. So my slope is going to be 2. Here's going to be the opposite of my x-coordinate. Well, it's -4, so I'm going to add 4. Here is going to be the opposite of my y-coordinate, so that's going to be -5. So then we have y minus 5 is equal to, now I'm going to take that 2 and distribute it in. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 4 is 8. And now I want to take and I want to add 5 to both sides. So now that I've solved for y, I have y is equal to 2x, 8 plus 5 is going to give me 13. So now this is in slope-intercept form because it's solved for y. So that concludes your point slope note video, so you can go ahead and complete your point slope portion of your practice sheet. Thanks for listening.